How's it going, people? And welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another box to box. The games ain't coming as thick and fast as they was last year for Arsenal Football Club, having been knocked out the FA Cup and the League Cup. But we've got a Premier League game this weekend, and it's a big one. It's a big one because United have just picked up 3 points against Brighton, putting them in the top four. Obviously, with games in hand for Arsenal Football Club, but those games in hand won't matter if we don't get the job done. I'm with a friend of mine. That's what I call Billy the Bee now, a friend of mine, because if you haven't already checked him out, make sure you guys do. In the description below, I'll put all the links. But I say a friend of mine because when we first spoke at the first game of the season with Brentford, very knowledgeable man, a true football fan and someone that truly loves Brentford. And the chat was one of the best chats I've had on Box to Box up until today. So welcome back, Billy the Bee. How you been, mate?
I'm very good. How you doing? Thanks for having me back again. Thanks to all you Arsenal fans out there. I hope you've had a good season so far. I've had a pretty good season as well, and I'm having a pretty good time because after we played Crystal Palace on Saturday, which is a game that again you wouldn't want to, if you recorded that on your Skybox Plus box to check us out and do a bit of research, I'd say delete that now because you won't want to be watching that game because you'd be falling asleep, like, you know what I'm saying, in front of the television, because it wasn't the best game, So as soon as that happened, I jetted out and I'm here with a glass of the Vino Tinto, is it? Wherever it is. I'm actually out in Spain. I came out to see my brother. I'm here with my family out here for a few days, just relaxing, having a good time, removing all football from my brain. Of course, you put the call in to say, I've got to chat to you. And of course, I had to chat to you there, Turkish, today about the Arsenal game. But other than that, football is not on the agenda for me this week at all. I'll switch back on when I come back on at the weekend on Saturday to come back for the Arsenal game. So I'm feeling very relaxed at the moment now. I had a little walk down on the beach today as well, which is very nice in the sun, t-shirt on and everything like that. So I know when I left it was freezing cold in London, but I had to just get rid of that freezing cold and get some warmth into my body.
Talk about rubbing it in, Billy. Talk about rubbing it in. If I open the door right here, I'm telling you, it's raining in Finsbury Park. So, it is what it is. Enjoy. That's all I can say. You mentioned the last game Brentford had and how boring it was, but Arsenal's last couple of games hasn't been the most thrilling. Obviously, we got the 3 points against Wolves, and when you're going away to a team like Wolves who have done pretty good things this season, I think 3 points is the most you can ask for. And I look at the Burnley one where 0-0 is probably not the best game to look at and try and understand what Arsenal are going to do against Brentford. But we've both had some inconsistencies this season, Billy. First and foremost, let's touch on Brentford because you started the season with a 2-0 win against Arsenal, a big 2-0 win, a good performance too, albeit Arsenal had, I won't say a makeshift team, but a lot of names that you don't see at the club now. I remember we started Chambers, we started Mari, we started Balogun. All three are not at Arsenal Football Club at the moment, along with Leno, Lokonga and Pepe, who are not first team. So it's going to be a very different Arsenal lineup you face. But having started the season so well, Billy, how do you find the season going so far? Because one win in the last 7 games in the Premier League has kind of not ruined the hard work Brentford done in the first half of the season, but it's back down to reality in a sense. Are you still confident of staying in the league? Did you expect this sort of inconsistency? What's your general thoughts?
Yeah, listen, I've said this, and when I spoke to you beforehand, man, first of all, we're happy to be here. It's taken us 40 years for me to get here, so I'm cool. And I'm not saying that I'm gonna just lay down and just let whatever happen. It's not like that at all. But we have to be realistic about it. We got to be realistic about where we've come from and where we're going to. We got to be realistic about the size of our club, the amount of money that we've got, the players that we've got. At the end of the day, we did a great job. We got to the Championship. We got promoted from the Championship last season. We're now in the Premier League. We beat you this season. We beat Wolves this season. We beat West Ham this season. We've done. We went toe to toe with Liverpool. We went toe to toe with Chelsea. Mate, we've had a great season so far. We know what our drawbacks are. We know where the problems are within the club. At the end of the day, we came up with a certain squad of players. We made a decision not to go and blow the money, the £100 million, whatever it is, straight away. And I think that the directors of football were very clever when they did that, because they didn't do it at Fulham, who blew the £150 million straight away. And like I do, they came straight down. They didn't know what they needed. What they wanted to do is that they wanted to test the temperature, see what we need within this division, see, what we wanted. If we needed to go and buy in January, we would have bought. And the fact is that, we didn't buy like we wanted to this January. But the fact is that if we were in more of a precarious position, then they would have bought 100%. They would have spent over the top, because it's better spending 2, 3, 4 million pounds extra than losing 100 million pounds. So we would have done that. So they knew what they needed to do this season, and I quite like that approach, because the fact is that, you know, we're doing things, you know, our way, and we're not kind of blowing a gasket. We're not going out there. I mean, the thing is, it really does sort of disappoint me when I see kind of clubs that are going out there and they're basically just bankrolling themselves, and they're spending more money they can afford, going for the big gamble. It doesn't really happen, because the reason why I get annoyed is because when it doesn't happen, it isn't the clubs that suffer in the end. Yeah, the clubs suffer, but it's the fans that suffer, because the fans are always there. So you look at situations like Derby County. That was predictable from 3-4 years ago. We saw what was happening there. And I've got Derby County friends. I say, listen, you don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be endorsing this kind of activity. You don't want to be overspending, trying to get to the promised land, because if it doesn't happen, you're in trouble. Why are you letting your owner sell your ground? You don't want to be doing things like that. So you've got to keep it in check. So we've always kept it in check of what we're doing, and we haven't gone full Monty. Now, you know, a lot of people may laugh at us and say we use stats this and we use stats that, and, you know, stats doesn't get you results. Yes, no, it doesn't, but it's kind of got us to where we're at. And with our directors of football, they looked at where we were at and they said, look, the chances of us going down are X percent, you know, 10, 50, whatever it may be. That's what they looked at it. They may get it wrong and we may have a terrible downfall. But at the end of the day, I think they thought that what we're going to do is that we're not going to blow a gasket now, because we could spend that money better in the summer. Okay, we'll try to get a few players. We tried to get, you know, what's his name from Brennan Johnson from Nottingham Forest. They didn't sell him. We tried to get this kid from the Ukraine. They didn't sell him. You know, we didn't blow a gasket. I know a lot of fans are getting a little bit nervous about it, but, you know, for me, I mean, I think they've done the right thing. The thing is that we had a brilliant start to the season. After 2 months, reality is that the injuries that everyone told us are going to come in January came in October, and they knocked us for 6. You know, David Raya, goalkeeper, brilliant goalkeeper, but not also a brilliant goalkeeper. He's like another player in the middle of the pitch for us. Like, you know, he's like a midfielder, you know, or a fullback, sweeper keeper, like, you know. And I didn't realize how much. I thought, we'll just get another keeper in and it's not a problem as long as he can save the ball. I didn't realize how much missing David Raya would absolutely kind of just kibosh us. And it really did. Aya, a record signing who plays in the center of defense as well, he was out for 3 months. You know, and again, that kiboshed us as well. You know, we've had Ivan Toney out with COVID. We've had, you know, Bumo being out. We've had, you know, left backs out, right backs out, centre backs out. We were down to our 7th centre back, Charlie Good. He's our 7th in line centre back. And we had that person, you know, I'm not saying that person in a disrespectful way, because he did really well. But we've all of a sudden, as we've gone through all these players, bringing them in. And when a team is constantly changing players week in and week out and trying to do that, no new goalkeeper, trying to get, you know, a vibe in with the defense and everything like that, it's going to affect you. And I didn't realize how much it was going to affect us. And the one thing I did realize is that, you know, our first team, which played against you, bang, you know, if you've got the first team out and they're on the money, it's great. As soon as you start taking a few players out of that, you know, it starts to affect us. And that's why I'm talking about the transfers. We know what we need to do. And we're not disrespecting any of the players who have got us to where we are now. But if Brentford, you know, needs to, you know, if we survive this season, which I do believe we will do, next season, if we carry on like we're doing now, we're not going to survive. So we're going to need to build on what we've got. So the money that you've come in, we build better. And I know for a fact, you could tell by the way that the directors of football have loaned out all these players and put them out there to basically say, listen, right, this is your chance to show you, are you going to be in this side for next season? Show us what you got. And the ones that can show us what they got, I'm sure that they'll give them, you know, extra time. And the ones they won't, they'll have to let them go, because we're at a position now where we need to up the ante. So I'm saying this, touch wood, next season, we're in this division. We are going to improve. We're going to have to bring in a right back. We're going to have to bring in a winger. You know, we're going to have to bring in somebody else into midfield, probably somebody else into defence, somebody else at left back to play if Rico Henry is injured, you know. So we know exactly what we need to do. This season, we like I said, our players got injured mid-October, and we saw after that, you know, we lost to Burnley, we lost to Norwich, we lost to teams which, you know, people say, you got to beat these teams. If you're going to stay in this division, you've got to beat these teams. But then afterwards, you start picking up points against other teams that you, inverted commas, shouldn't have done. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's not as simple as that. for us. And I'm not saying I'm not worried. I'm not being arrogant about it, but I'm just thinking I'm still here enjoying it, going to matches. I haven't missed a match home and away this season, including on a cold, rainy night in Stoke on a Tuesday night, which I went to as well in the cup, which is exactly what it sounds like as well. It was cold and rainy in Stoke.
Beautiful times.
Yeah, but the thing is, like I said to you, I think we'll be all right this season. We're going to pull up a few surprises, and the reason why I say that is that the players that were injured are coming back into the fore. And I was very surprised when Raya and Josh De Silva turned up at Everton in the Cup the other day, because I didn't expect them to come until April. And I was thinking, when they come back in April, we get a full team back, and that's when we actually go. So the fact that they come back in the middle of February means that, give them a few weeks to get up to speed, get them a few weeks to get them back, back up to fitness. We're talking about March, maybe middle of March, where we're going to start to get him back in there. And obviously we've got Christian Eriksen, who's come in as well, who will be an interesting addition to the side. By April, I think that you're going to see more of a Brentford that you saw at the beginning of the season. And that's why I'm feeling quite confident.
You know what's mad, Billy? I mean, everything you said is quite relatable to Arsenal Football Club. I like the way you explain and you look at the business or lack of business done heading into this season, because it makes sense what you're saying. I guess your first season, look at it as who wants it, who wants to be a part of this future at Brentford, and the next season, the second season in the league, that's when you make the changes. That's when you make the improvements. And, and I say relatable because at Arsenal Football Club, it's a similar story. Obviously, we had a big investment in the summer, but that big investment was down to a massive overhaul that was needed at Arsenal. And when you look at our starting 11, in general, we're happy with it. There might be one or two positions that I'd want to upgrade on, but in general, our starting 11, if fit, we are generally happy with. However, if one or two injuries come into play or AFCON comes into play, that's when it kind of all crumbles. You mentioned October, November, and the injuries that cost Brentford results and performances and whatnot. I look at January and look at the Finn squad and the Nottingham Forest FA Cup tie, the League Cup doubleheader against Liverpool, albeit a great result in the first leg. We couldn't get over the line at home in the second. It's a very thin squad. And it's similar to what you're saying there in terms of if you're starting 11s out there, you're happy, you're confident, and that's what you'd expect the future to look like, albeit a few changes here and there. Arsenal's pretty much the same kind of story. If it's not the starting 11, it seems that there's problems off the bench because the quality is just not up to par. And it also seemed that this season is a season where the club, Arteta, Edu, have asked or have demanded players to prove themselves as part of the future at Arsenal Football Club. Because in January, we also let go of a few players that some would argue we could have utilised in the coming months. We still have a top 4 to challenge for. But some have argued that the business in January was great business because we've cleared the decks, we've cleared dead wood, we've got the wage structure down. Outside looking in, because me listening to your opinion on Brentford and how they approached it, without the emotion of supporting Brentford, I understand it. But when it comes to Arsenal, even though I call it relatable, I just don't understand some of the things Arsenal do. In January, the last day, we got rid of Aubameyang. We've left with 2 strikers with 6 months to go on their contract, Billy. But outside looking in, you tell me, someone who's calm and someone who can take a step back from the emotions, what do you think of Arsenal right now in comparison to what you thought of them in the first game of the season? Has anything changed for you? Do you see more light at the end of the tunnel?
I'm going to be honest with you. I think Arsenal are doing all right. Seriously, I think Arsenal are doing all right. I saw that first game when we beat you. Obviously, I was elated. It was absolutely brilliant. The feeling was fantastic. For us, I didn't expect nothing from that game. We just went there to have a few drinks before the game, go and see our new stadium, have a bit of a sing-song and go home. That's what I expected. In the end, I've gone home singing and dancing, you know what I'm saying, for the whole week, so which is great. But the fact is that, I never watched that game back actually on I recorded it obviously in my box, but I never watched it back for a few weeks. And of course, what you see is all the comments, Arsenal are this and Arsenal are that and Arsenal are blah, 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 this, that, and the other. There's about a month later, I watched that game back. I sat down there because I wanted to watch it, feet up and just chilled out. And I watched it. And I thought, actually, Arsenal aren't that bad, especially in the second half. You had a number of chances. Smith Rowe, like, I thought he played really well, like, I'm saying, but we defended really well, especially we just threw our bodies on the line for that game. We defended really well, and we had a tactic, and we had that hunger, and the crowd was behind it. But Arsenal weren't as terrible as I thought that everybody, was saying. And if they had one of the chances that had gone in, it would have gone in, and it would have been different. And also, again, I keep saying this, but we use stats quite a lot. And as Beesotted, as you know, I blog and I put podcasts for beesotted.com or prideofwest.london if you want to check it out. We talk about stats a lot because, like I said, that's where we come from. And I looked at that game, and you were higher than us on an XG level, which basically means that you created better quality chances than we did. And that was the only game. All the other games, we created better chances than everybody. Crystal Palace, West Ham, I think but the next 6 or 7 games, even Brighton, they had one chance, Brighton, they scored in the 90th minute, right? We had 3 chances, could have put them away, we didn't do. So this is the whole thing about Brentford. I probably explained this when I spoke to you beforehand. In the Championship, we used to create a hatload of chances. XG was off the scale, and we didn't put them at the back of the net. But the fact is, because we created so many chances, we had more opportunities. So we'd still, we scored 3 goals, when technically we probably should have scored 7. But what I'm saying, because we didn't have the quality striker that you have in the Premier League, we couldn't do that. Now Arsenal have been creating chances, and they've been creating chances all through the season. They're right up there. I think they're 6th best at the moment now, which you probably say they could be better, but they're 6th best in the league, which is quite similar to where their league position is at the moment on the quality of chances that they create. Now, if you listen to Arsenal fans, you think it's all doom and gloom, but I'm thinking, well, this is something for you to actually kind of, for you to, to base it on. You've got a really good level. If you look at that barometer, you're doing okay. And I think Arteta is doing okay. There's reasons for why he's doing it. You don't know what's happening in the background with these players, the Aubameyang, you've got your 2 players on the short contracts. Listen, I can't go into that. All I'm saying is that, he seems to have a bit of a handle. And I think he's got a longer term vision. And I think what's difficult for football fans is that you want everything tomorrow. And we all want everything tomorrow. For us, everyone wanted Brentford to buy a load of players for this window. And what would that have done? It'd probably get us, and I said, touch wood, if we don't go down, we'll probably end up finishing, say, 16th. And if we bought a couple of players, it would have got us up to 14th, right? And then we'd end up lumbered with players for the next 5 years that are probably not as good as the players that we could have bought in the summer. So you've kind of got to, we're lucky that the directors of football don't have the emotion when they make all the good ones. Some of them do, I think, for some clubs. You can tell because there's some clubs, they listen to the fans. The next minute they're going out and buying all sorts of rubbish, you know what I'm saying? And then it doesn't go right. And then the manager gets sacked there to get rid of all them players and waste a whole lot of money, then bring a load of players in. But the really good ones aren't affected by the emotion. And I think most of them probably don't even look at social media and that because they're thinking, I'm not going to get affected by what's going on there. I need to do my job and keep level-headed. And I think that Arsenal are doing all right. You're on track for a Champions League place, which is amazing considering where you thought you were at the beginning of the season. And I think that you have to be careful about not wanting too much because I think people want too much. Yeah, we should be winning the league. It's like, forget that. Just be careful, grateful that you're on the right track. You've got some good young players coming through. You're probably getting rid of the players that probably shouldn't be there or don't really want to be there. Just because somebody's you pay £70 million for them, don't mean that they're a £70 million player. It just means that you pay £70 million for them. You know what I'm saying? There's a big difference as to what that player is really worth. Look at players with your eyes and turn around and say, are they any good? We bought a player for, I think, £500,000 and he's been brilliant. You know what I'm saying? He's been brilliant. We got him from Germany for very little money and he's one of the cheapest players we've ever bought and he's been fantastic. So everyone is... everyone looks at him with their eyes to see how they play rather than the tag that he's got on him. He's probably worth, £20 million now, Vitaly Janel is his name, So for me, I think Arsenal are doing okay. And I think maybe Arsenal fans, and I'm not being patronizing to you at all. I'm just saying this as a football fan. I think you should sort of just step back a little bit and let my man do his job because just let him do his job. If it's not working in the next two to 3 years, then you can talk, but don't expect something tomorrow. It's gonna. If you're doing the right thing, you'll move forward in the right steps, and you move forward next season, and the following season, and you start challenging. And that's my opinion. I mean, it may not count for much, but that's me just stepping back.
Yeah, that's why I like these shows for someone, an unbiased, unemotional opinion on the club. If you're not connected to Arsenal, so it's good to hear what fans outside looking in without a bias think. And you know, you make a lot of sense because you know Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. It's just that Arsenal fans, there's a fine balance between knowing how long the Kroenkes have taken the piss out of us, and also understanding that we've got a young manager, a young squad, and they need some time. It's such a balance that's why you get so much division, and that's why you get so much noise because of essentially how we've been run over the years and how far we've fallen. But like I said, you make a lot of sense, and when you've got a young manager, young team, and a young everything at Arsenal Football Club, patience comes with youth. So you do make sense there, Billy. Keeping in mind the time, I do want to get into the fixture. I noticed that Christian Eriksen started a friendly a couple of days ago.
Yeah, he did actually. Again, listen, amazing story. You know, amazing person, a great player. I know that he played for your rivals, and I actually saw him play with my next door neighbour, Mike, RIP, who invited me to Tottenham. It's the only time that I've actually been to Tottenham Stadium, except for back in the proper day before this new stadium, you know what I'm saying? And he invited me to the game. And I remember we sat there watching them. I think it's a European game. And I sat there and all of a sudden I saw this guy. I said, who's that guy there? And he goes, oh, that's Christian Eriksen. I'm going, he's good, isn't he? Like, you know, so it's really weird me sitting down there watching that game. I think I'm pretty sure we were in Division 1 at the time, right? We might have been the Championship, but we were Division 1, the Championship. Never did I think that player's going to be playing at Brentford in a few years' time. So it's a bit of a strange one, you know, to have him there. Obviously, our Danish connections has helped to make it happen. He's obviously gone for a really terrible time, but he's come through that and he's really driven. And I like the fact, and I think this is almost like a really nice football story. And even if it wasn't Brentford, if it was somebody else, I think it's really great. The fact is that football, and we talk about this, football is so driven by money, especially when you come to the Premier League. And players are so driven by money, and it kind of knocks a bit of the joy out of football sometimes, because you sort of think if somebody's really good, they're going to go here or they're going to go there. It's always about the money. It's always about the money. Whereas in the lower leagues, sometimes it's not about the money. It's still that you feel there's a bit of love and the passion when it comes to the players and where they want to go. So the fact that Christian Eriksen, all of a sudden he's come and he has had obviously a near-death experience, and so for him, when he's come back, he's thinking, I just want to play football. It's not about the money for me anymore. I've earned my money and I can get my money. So it's not about the money. I need to find a home with people that I can work with, that I like, that they say they're going to play me, and so on and so forth. So it's almost like a really nice scenario where you sort of sit down thinking, this is just, you know, if he went to, you know, Reading, or if he went to wherever else it may be, or, you know, to Luton, you know, or if he went to, you know, okay, or Norwich or something like that. Again, for me, that would be an equally as nice story for me, because I'm thinking, man, you know, football, the things that you think that you've lost in football, you know, where it's totally about the finances and the commercials and the product and all this nonsense that they come up with, you know, you sort of think, actually, this is about the football for once. So the fact that he wanted to play for us because he wanted to play with people that he knew, you know, he wanted to get back in this game, that kind of makes me feel really warm. And it'll be really interesting to see what he's like. He set up a goal for Josh Da Silva, who's been out for a year, and he's just come back. So he, like I said, he's played one cup game and one league game for us now. And then he played in his friendly, scored a hat-trick in the friendly, and obviously Josh Da Silva came from Arsenal as well for us on a freebie. So that'll be quite interesting. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that Josh Da Silva starts on Saturday, because I think this is his creative. The creative impetus that he puts into our side, we've been really missing that. You know, somebody that could pick up the ball, run with the ball sticks to his feet. He's a great player. So if he can start and Christian Eriksen can come off the bench and play 15 minutes at the end, that would be just fantastic for the 3,000 Brentford fans that are coming to the game. You know, that's all we want to see. We want to see our players just put in a shift, do really well. I don't think very many people are expecting to get a result. They're not even expecting to get a point. So if we can get a point from you, and I know you're probably going to ask a score prediction later, but I'm just saying we get a point from you, that's what we want. But more to the point, we want to try and see them put in a shift and try and see them start moving more towards the Brentford that you saw at the beginning of the season, who, you know, had that bit of creative there, but also had a little bit of muscle, had a little bit of, you know, just a little bit of something in there that you just thought actually they're going to go in and really battle against the team that they're playing against.
Yeah. No, I get you. It's no chance Eriksen starts.
I'd be very doubtful if he starts, just because you got to ease him in. I'm not the DOF, so I don't know. So you got to ease him in. So I think it's more likely that Christian Eriksen will come on and they'll give him 15 minutes, or give him 15 minutes at the end to just ease him in quite nicely. And then the next game you give him 20 minutes, and then you just ease him in until eventually, and it gets on. It's interesting because one of my friends, I know a few people actually went down to the training ground because it was half term, so I think they went down there with their kids to go down there, and they said it's funny. There's no press. There's I think no security, but it was very, very quiet down there. But what they was told is that Christian Eriksen has actually got his own medical person by the side of the pitch, literally like follows him everywhere. And that medical person is there strictly just for Christian Eriksen. So if, obviously if anything goes not quite according to plan, which, we very much hope it won't do, he's got his own person on there who'll be able to react to him on the spot at the time. So, there's a lot of people obviously a little bit nervous because what's happened, you sort of think, oh God, this, hopefully, situation won't happen again. But obviously he's been through some really stringent medical, through our club, through the authorities, different medical. I mean, it took quite a while. I mean, him actually sort of kind of saying he wanted to join Brentford, that was the easy part. It was getting through the medical, which is actually the really difficult part. And we, at the side, we were tracking it quite a lot, actually, kind of the whole time. And it was a case of, how long is it going to be now? How long is it going to be now? They're like going, well, we're not sure. It's 15% or it's 20% now, it's 25%. And it was like one of those ones where you still didn't know if it was going to happen because the medical was so stringent. So I think that they're really certain that, he's able to compete with this ICD, which is this defibrillator that's been put into his neck. And it actually kind of, basically kind of what it does is it just monitors his heart. And if you get any kind of his heart drops between a certain level, it just gives an electric shock, which actually kind of just boosts the heart to make it kind of start working again. And it's it's a really ingenious device. And you've got players that actually do play and do play with it at the moment now. So it's one of those things where, he's confident with it. The doctors are confident with it. Everyone's confident with it. So let's just see. And, I wish him, again, if he even wasn't at Brentford, I wish him all the luck in the world, because at the end of the day, he obviously loves playing football. He went through a terrible experience. And, for him to come back and play again, I think that's just made him happy. And, it's, forget the money. It's just about the playing.
Yeah, it's a big moment. I mean, you mentioned the rivalry, Arsenal-Tottenham, but, life comes way before any football rivalry. So, it's good that he's back. It's good that he's on the verge of returning. And hopefully he can, look behind him. And that is the last of the health concern that he had to go through. Billy, you're right. I'm about to ask you for a prediction. Do you have one ready for me?
Well, I do. Well, first, my prediction is going to be that I'm going to be cycling down the beach with my son tomorrow, down there for a bit of lunch and another glass of vino tinto. So that prediction is definitely going to happen tomorrow, because the weather over here, like I said to you, is okay. It was t-shirt weather today. It was nice and sunny. I'm really glad that I got away because it was so cold back in London. And I'm not trying to make you feel jealous, but reason why I'm giving you that prediction, because that's the only prediction that I know I'll probably get right. So coming back to the match prediction, I cannot. What I'll say is that I'm going to go with what I want to happen, and what I want to happen is I want to get a draw at Arsenal tomorrow. Obviously I'd love to win, but let's be realistic about it. So let me go for a 1-1 draw. We want to celebrate a goal. I don't want to have another 0-0 match because we had that last week and that wasn't very exciting. So let's both have a goal. Something to celebrate, something to cheer about, and it'll be a move forward. Because if we do get a point, I'll be honest with you, and this is not disrespecting my team, but this is one game that I haven't put that we're going to get a result from. So if we get anything out of this game, this will be a good result for us. We've got 3 big matches coming. We've got Newcastle, we've got Norwich, and we've got Burnley pretty much straight after each other. So those are the 3 big matches for us. So if we can get something out of this one, I'll be very, very happy.
Of course you will. I look at it in a similar way in terms of we've got bigger fixtures to come in terms of the top end of the table and the top 4 race. Like you mentioned, the 3 teams that you're going to play and the relegation battle and avoiding that. Chelsea away, Spurs away, and come into the month, Liverpool will be our 3 games in hand. And that's why I look at games like this, and I look at games like Wolves at home next week, Thursday. And I say it's must-win games for Arsenal if top 4 is, the target. If top 4 is what you're going for. Our CEO just came out yesterday to say, top 4's in our sights, and that's what we're going for. So if that is the case, then it's a must-win game this Saturday against Brentford. And I think we should win it. I think with the added, spice that Brentford beat us in the first game of the season, the criticism and the pressure on the squad and that first game, and the first 3 games of the season we lost without scoring. I think that spice should get us over the line, hopefully. I look at the young players that we rely upon. I know Martinelli suspended, but Emil Smith-Rowe will come in. He's our top scorer this season, Emil Smith-Rowe. So, in terms of depth in one position, that is a good position to get a red card in, I guess, because we've been getting a hell of a lot of red cards recently. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Arsenal, Billy. I think it'll be tight. We're not exactly free scoring off the top of my head. I think we've scored 2 goals this calendar year, one against Man City in the 2-1 loss and one obviously against Wolves last week. So scoring and creating this calendar year has been a problem so far, but I think we should get over the line. So I'm just going to go with a 2-1.
What I'm going to say to you, I think that what's going to be important, okay, for us, midfield obviously is going to be very important, and we normally dominate midfield. But but we've had games where all of a sudden it's like the midfielders, in effect, inverted commas, gone missing. Now this may or may not change in this game, so that's going to be obviously really, really important in this match, because whoever dominates the midfield is going to really take charge of this game as well. But the other thing for us is defensively, because when we played you at the beginning of the season, we were one of the top 3 best defenses in the country. We were unbelievable, right? We were very, very tight. We basically kept it tight. Then after that, if we scored a goal, then it's a bonus. You know what I'm saying? So if you're keeping it tight, you know that you ain't going to lose matches. Yeah. All of a sudden, we lost that. And especially when Raya went, our defense has gone to pot. And okay, we're not terrible, but we've been letting in silly goals, right? Especially from corners, all just ridiculous goals we've been letting in. The fact that we didn't let in a goal against Crystal Palace, there's almost like celebrations going down. So I think the key is going to be also that defense. If we can keep tight in defense like we were before and not letting the silly goals, then you're going to see a different Brentford, because obviously we emanate a lot of confidence off the back of that. And because our defense was shaky, the rest of the team, there's a lot of lack of confidence there. So that is going to be the key, the strong defense. And then if our midfield is actually kind of active and mobile and start to try and dominate and try to attack and create attack. Let's see how that works. And also Ivan Toney, he works too hard doing too many things. He needs to stay up front and score goals, because he spends too much time on the penalty line saving balls, and in the midfield, the sort of kind of mopping up, and on the wings, he does everything. He's a brilliant player. He does everything. But I think the other players need to work a little bit harder so that Ivan can go back up, and then we can get the ball up to him, put it in the back of the net, which is a very simplistic way of putting it, but that's what we need.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a hot and cold midfield over at Brentford, and it's a hot and cold midfield at Arsenal. So I'm with you on that. I think the midfield is going to be a key battle in the game, and we'll go a long way in deciding the eventual outcome. Because Partey and Xhaka, as you know, Billy, it looks better on paper than it has produced on the pitch so far. We hope it clicks one day, but we'll see. Billy, let them know where they can find you. We're going to put all of that in the description below, but let them know.
Listen, Beesotted.com is the blog, the podcast, the vlog that we don't do any vlogs more for it, but the podcast and the blog, you catch it. And like I said to you, we'll have articles on there. We've got the podcast on there. We've got loads of different articles and stuff. So check that out as well. And also prideofwest.london, if you want to go straight in for the podcast. We've done 840 podcasts now as well. So we're properly strong in the podcast game. So you can check that out. We've got all sorts of different things. And we'll do a post-match podcast straight after the game. On the terraces, we speak to Brentford fans, we speak to Arsenal fans, and we'll put that up, and that'll be live probably 2 hours after the game as well. So you'll hear that live from inside the stadium, outside the stadium, inside the pub as well. It's actually an interesting and entertaining listen. I can tell you that much as well, because people straight after the game, as you know, as your channel knows, they say very interesting things which are slightly different than when you have had 24 hours to think about it. So definitely worth checking that out.
Interesting is the right word. Billy, thank you for giving us the time, mate. I'll probably see you on Saturday anyway, so it'll be good to get a catch up then. People, he's giving you all the details. I'm putting it in the description below. So make sure you guys show some love to Billy and show some support, because like I said, Billy's a very knowledgeable fan. He's a true football fan. And if he's talking to Arsenal fans after the game, I'm interested to hear what they're going to say on Billy's channels as well. So make sure you guys support Billy. Love for coming on. And people, love for the love as always. Hit the like button, share. Give us your thoughts, predictions, lineups, key battles, and key men to look out for in the comment section below. And we'll see how it goes this Saturday. Love, people.